Can I ask you a question here?
Yes, ma'am.
What was it like being on lockdown? They just lifted it. What's your name and where are you from?
My name's Nicholas Petro. I go to YSU and I'm a freshman. It was so scary. You never know nowadays because all these mass shootings, and we heard that there was a guy with a gun on campus.
As you can see, there are 2 water main breaks, and they are trying to fix those now. They believe they're from aging pipes, and they tell us those 70 water customers should have their water back on. They are hoping within the next half hour. But the million-dollar question tonight is how this little girl would have come into contact with a dangerous drug that would have caused her to overdose. This technology can be used to weed out suspicious packages and other bomb threats. Some of the people I talk to say when they think of the Cleveland Indians, they think of Chief Wahoo. And while the new logo may solve one issue, some fans think it's confusing.
That talent show, she prepared for it for weeks last year, and she was so excited to get up on stage and sing in front of everybody. She loved doing those type of things.
9-year-old Alicia Rosario's desk now sits empty at Wilson Elementary. A sad and tragic reminder of the monumental loss of a 4th grader killed in the Parkcliffe house fire on Sunday with her 4 younger siblings.
I can't even talk about it without crying. I'm trying to be strong for the kids, but it's like, you know, you do okay for a couple hours and somebody asks you how you're doing, and it's just, it is my worst nightmare losing one of my kids.
A team of grief counselors gently delivered the news to classmates.
The children that day were in shock, I think. There was no talking for about probably a good 10 minutes. And then we proceeded to have them do a activity where we bought poster paper and allowed them to draw whatever they wanted to for the family.
That art therapy seemed to help the students open up and begin to talk and ask questions, the first step in healing. Alicia's teacher was constantly reminding her to take home things that were in her locker and put them in her book bag, but she was always forgetting. Now those things are so valuable, including one that says Mom and Love, and a journal that will go to her mom when she's feeling better. One of the items found was this Thanksgiving drawing to her twin 1-year-old sisters, Ariana and Brianna.
But look here, it says, I hope you guys live a wonderful life. And tell me that doesn't break your heart.
With more local news, I'm Michelle Nix. Frank Elling of the Idora area has been shot at twice and been jumped by a group of teens, but it hasn't scared off this neighborhood warrior.
I don't take threats well.
Instead, Elling fought back, arming himself with a camera. Ever since, he's been determined to stop the opioid and heroin drug deals, overdoses, and break-ins by using his watchful eye to spook the bad guys who sometimes can allegedly be spotted in this drugstore parking lot.
This is where the buyers of all types of drugs and prostitution want to come.
One day, through his camera lens, the opioid epidemic really came into focus and was as real as it gets. A woman lies overdosing on the pavement, an empty pill bottle nearby. And Elling says, sadly, this wasn't the first time.
One guy goes in the store, he comes back out, they had shot up, and both of them are sitting in the car, just, you can see it. I mean, they're zoned out.
These images are what Elling wants to delete from his hard drive and the community's image. Now he's calling on local churches to team up by forming 24/7 community patrols.
It takes not a police state, but a citizen state. Churches need to put people to work until it's done.
Jeff Solik, the commander of the Mahoning Valley Drug Task Force, agrees, saying no one knows a neighborhood better than those who live in it. But understand, cleaning up the streets won't happen overnight.
Society in general, they like immediate results, and you know we can't do these large, complex investigations like you just saw in Columbiana County. They have over 100 defendants. That was a great investigation, but I'm sure that wasn't done in 48 minutes like you see on TV.
And community tips have led to the prosecutions of the criminal gangs, the Vic Boys, H Block and E Block, and dozens of drug, gun, and burglary prosecutions, including the arrest and conviction of one of the area's top heroin dealers. DeWaylin Colvin, who was linked to 4 murders. With more local news, I'm Michelle Nix. Andrew McCourt of Berlin Center was taken into custody at a children's park by the State Highway Patrol after he refused to stop for allegedly speeding on Interstate 680.
And I'm like, what the heck's going on?
The 31-year-old led troopers who were out in full force for the holiday on a pursuit around the city.
He got off on Meridian Road, then went down and around in towards the city, then got back on 680 South, then finally got off here on Midlothian.
The State Patrol says the suspect was determined to get away. He crashed through this fence before crashing his truck and then bailing out so that he could make a run for it on foot. Complaining he needed medical attention after allegedly plowing the stolen Ford F-350 out of Warren through a fence, McCourt was taken to the hospital but is now in the Mahoning County Jail. Christina Boswell and her fiance witnessed the pursuit.
There was no stopping, and next thing you know, it's just he's jumping. And it was like Dukes of Hazzard, gone.
The neighbors say just a few minutes earlier, children were playing at Ipes Field, and normally kids are always playing football here.
Man, I got my 11-year-old boy coming here in a couple of days. If he'd have been here, I'm sorry, the cops would have probably had to drag me off of that guy.
McCourt served 4 years for a string of burglaries back in 2014. He's now facing receiving stolen property, fleeing and eluding, and speeding. Crimes that refuse to take a holiday. With more local news, I'm Michelle Nix. Derek and Leslie, officers Casey Kelly and Greg Tackett tell me when they saw the condition of 3.5-month-old Tariq Morris, they knew every second mattered. And even though in the end the child had to be taken off of life support and died, they knew that they had given this innocent child who had been shot every chance at life. When YPD officers Casey Kelly and Greg Tackett responded to the Pasadena shooting, where the car was riddled with bullets, they saw 2 adults in the front seat, but were shocked at what they found in the back.
It looked like a pile of clothes, to be honest with you, because they had a blanket over top of the baby carrier. And as I'm shining my light, I looked up and I saw the baby's face, and that's when I was kind of like, oh no.
The officers say the baby also never made a sound, even though he was looking around and clearly critically injured by gunfire.
Not a cry, not a whimper, not anything. It was kind of just laying there.
For Officer Greg Tackett, he just remembers being in the cruiser, holding the infant in the baby carrier, and Tariq looking up at him.
I just remember he kept putting his little hand in my hand, and I was just holding on to it. And it was very hard.
The officers decided to take the baby in the police cruiser to the hospital, knowing it could be 4 minutes before the ambulance was on scene.
Short of pushing my foot through the floorboard to get the pedal to get as fast as I can get going, that's what I was doing. I was jamming it, and he's telling me, he's like, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Officer Kelly says they may have reached speeds of up to 120 miles per hour, running lights and sirens. St. East police had lights and sirens on and were actually moving cars over for Youngstown as nurses and doctors waited to grab the baby at emergency.
It was very hard to see that child in that condition.
What's up, buddy?
Did you vote for me?
I did.
Hubbard Sr. Preston Allen is gifted when it comes to his personality. He's the king of the hallways and could be crowned king of the school.
He's great. Always goes to football games, supports everybody.
What's amazing is to see how far Preston has come, especially after you hear how his life started.
We never, ever put limits on Preston. The sky is the limit for him. And to this day, this proves it today that he's soaring, and he's soaring among the eagles in Hubbard.
Preston is autistic and was adopted by Richard and Sally Allen at 23 months because he couldn't walk, talk, or sit up and was going to be put in an institution. But he's flourished since attending Hubbard High School, and his classmates campaigned and succeeded in putting him on the homecoming court.
It's above a dream.
As Preston practices walking with the entire court, we asked him who he would like to see become queen. He adoringly points to his teacher.
Oh, thank you.
As for what he told his mom when he learned about making homecoming court,
And he said, so Mom, does that mean people like me? And I said, everybody likes you, Preston.
Now, the King and Queen, again, will be officially named here at Hubbard High School at 6:30. And whether Preston win or loses, many people here say they already have their king.